Welcome back. Across the U.S., including right here in Kern County, protests are taking place following the death of George Floyd, whose death was captured showing a police officer with his knee on the back of Floyd's neck. It has not only triggered protests, but calls for change. Joining us this morning to talk about the local protests and what can be done to better relations between the public and law enforcement is the president and CEO of the Kern County Black Chamber of Commerce, Nick Hill III. Nick, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So my first question, there's been 4 nights in a row of protests here in Bakersfield. Have you been attending them, and what is your reaction to seeing these people out there protesting?
Well, I really haven't been attending the protests personally, but a lot of my colleagues have, and I get a lot of feedback from them. But my message to everyone is, of course, protest, but protest peacefully. Do not destroy property. Do not loot the businesses, because these businesses are your neighbors, and you're destroying people's livelihoods. People work hard, for what they have. And if you're going to be breaking into someone's business, that's not improving our situation as far as police relations. And it doesn't do anything for, let's go back to all the way back to Emmett Till. Let's go to Sandra Bland. Let's go to Mr. Arbery. Let's go to Mr. Floyd. All these things, that's not helping our situation. If we have coordinated efforts in our protesting, that's what's going to help us. And eventually, when we go and vote, if we're doing this protesting in numbers, we should be voting in numbers as well, because our vote is what's going to determine the outcome to all these things that's going on.
Has the Black Chamber of Commerce been in communication at all with local law enforcement? And if so, what have you guys discussed?
Okay, we haven't personally been in contact with local law enforcement, but there is an event today that we will be attending in a Zoom meeting, and I think the MLK initiative put that together as well. So we will be participating in that event today.
A question, you mentioned at the beginning that you haven't been attending the protests. Is there any specific reason why, or what is the reasoning behind that?
Well, yeah, there's a recent medical issue that I just recently discovered, and it didn't allow me to be out there like I would want to be, participating like I should be. And so with this medical condition that I discovered that I have, it just was not possible at that time.
I understand. Okay. What is your biggest message? We talked a little bit about this during the break, but what is your biggest message to anybody who's either out there protesting, anybody who's watching from the sidelines? What is your biggest message when it comes to change?
Well, number one, I have African-American boys. I have 3 African-American boys. I have a daughter. So, I want to, this is not just relegated to African-American men. This is African-Americans, period. And we have to be careful, but everyone also has to understand that we are not our ancestors, and this is a totally different time. So with this protesting that's going on, we have to protest peacefully, but you've got other organizations that's behind this, and I would say white supremacist organizations that's coming in and inciting the looting and the violence. And we have to be cognizant of that and make sure that we don't fall into that trap, because number one, it takes away from our message. Our message is peace. Our message is understanding. Our message is that we want to get along with the police. We want to have better relations with the police department, whether it's here in Bakersfield or if it's anywhere in the whole United States. In order for us to do that, we have to learn how to protest peacefully.
All right, Nick Hill III, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're going to keep this conversation going. It's what we can do right now. Thank you again.